Hey everybody. Oh my god, my skin is looking cooked. Okay. Oh no. Hi mommy. My mom is in the house. Maybe I should put on some different earrings. Hey Rashida. Hey Yannick. Hey Alvin. Tasha. My mom has tuned in this week, guys. My mom is here. Phoenix is in her bed. Pacha. Hola, muñeca. Hi, Carly. Hi, everybody. So, I like to start on time, but we'll wait like 2 or 3 minutes before we kick this thing off. So, yeah. In the meantime, in between time, work has been working. And so I have some friends on my face. This is stress. Don't let these jobs stress you out unless you have bills to pay. Then you really have no choice. Thanks, Rashida. Karina, you're back in the States, honey. Guys, like you had a good time. Okay, 1 more minute, and then we can start on this week's conversation. Hey, Bunny. This is cool. All right. So, I want to thank you guys for joining last week, and those who didn't join, it's posted on my Facebook somewhere on the wall and on my Instagram. I have it in my reels. And thank you for making this like a comfortable space to talk about the alopecia that I'm dealing with and everything that comes with hair loss, right? It's not just what's happening on your head, it's internally, it's everything, like your mental, your physical, everything is affected by that. But this week, I wanted to talk about divorce, another hot topic that we've seen on the blogs and on the news every single day. Hey, Devon. St. John's Prep is in the building. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about divorce. And, one thing that I did miss last week was I didn't have a Q&A. And one of my friends, she mentioned, like, oh, no questions. And I was so nervous of what was happening in the moment that I didn't even think about questions. I was just like, okay, let me get off. Like I promised to be on for 20 minutes and to get off. So yeah, this chat with Kat is literally short convos. It's giving 20, 25 minutes. I'm not trying to hold you guys up. Hey, Zaire. Just want to share my life and, share pop culture and share my opinion ultimately, because who cares what I think is literally how I feel. But yeah. Okay. So today's topic is divorce, ... We are not our parents. Divorce has been the hot topic on the blogs, on the news, because today's people are like, for better or for better, because when things get for worse, I'm for out. They're getting up out of here. They're not about to sit here and be dealing with no crap. And I have a few notes. So if you see me look up, it's just because I can't remember everyone who's been getting divorced. The line has been way too long. So obviously within the last 2 to 3 years, it's been Megan Good, Tia Mowry, Tina Knowles. I was so happy that Tina got married, especially in her later age, because I'm always telling my mom, like, oh, there's somebody for you. But Tina said it's a dub for the second time. The twin from ATL, Khadijah, she's also divorced. Like, wow. Hey, Sarita. We have Britney Spears. I'm not really sure why she got married again. Like, girl, After that first man took her for the child support for them kids, like, it will be giving long-term boyfriend for forever. Like, you don't need to get married. And if you do, that prenup needs to be airtight, like airtight. Drew Sidora, do we watch Housewives of Atlanta? Oh, Rashida, I'm sorry. If we watch Housewives of Atlanta, we know that Drew and Ralph are trying it. So, best of luck to them. LaToya Luckett and Lala Anthony. Yeah, Lala had to let Carmela go because you can't come back with no kid. Like, that's taking it too far. That you just taking it too far. But today, when I say divorce, ... we're not our parents, it's because we are just a different generation. Those people are a different generation from their parents. My grandparents were married, I don't know, for forever. I think my grandfather was 18, my grandmother was 16 when she got pregnant. And they lived up until like their early 70s, I think. Yeah, or mid 70s. Anyway, the point is that, hey Keisha, the point is that our grandparents were raised in a generation of no divorce, right? So it's like they married for better or for worse. And even when for worse happened, they decided that they were just going to stick it out because they were married. They were locked in. No matter what happened, they were just going to stay married forever. Like I said, my grandmother got pregnant really early in life. My grandfather was older. He was a top cop in Haiti. When I mean top cop, I mean like the CIA, I guess. Secret Service, not CIA, sorry. Secret Service. He used to drive the president's son to school. So the president of Haiti had a child. My grandfather used to escort that kid back and forth to school. So my grandfather was a top cop. And my grandmother was just a little Haitian girl, being a hot mama, gets pregnant. So my grandfather just thought that he was the man. And, long story short, he was abusive and controlling and et cetera, et cetera. But then my grandmother had the opportunity to come to America. So she comes to America. She gets her own coins. Okay, she probably was dating, living her life. Like, it's giving free world. It's giving concrete. It's giving McDonald's. Like, sis was living her life. And then she worked in a couple of factories to send money back to Haiti to take care of my mom and her 5 siblings. Eventually, she wound up becoming a nanny. While becoming a nanny, she worked for a white family who paid for all 6 of her children, so my mom and her 5 siblings, to come to America, and then eventually my grandfather. So let's shout out to our white allies out there, because there are some good people who do good things, and that was like super great of her to do that. But I say all of that to say that once my grandfather came here, the roles had reversed. He had never been to America. I'm not really sure how his English was, but my grandmother was now head of the household. So there was no more, like he couldn't be knucking and bucking on her because he didn't have nothing to stand on. Like, my grandmother was now the breadwinner. She was now welcoming him into her territory. And whatever, they lived, they raised their kids got older, and they stayed together. And in her later years, she would share stories, my mom would share stories that my grandmother wasn't always happy, but their divorce was not an option for them. You just live together forever until one of you guys passes away. So that's just what it was. And then you have my mom's generation, right? They watched their parents live together forever until they passed away, and so they thought of the same thing. So as I explained to you guys last time in my previous story, that my hair first started thinning when my parents were going through a divorce. So my parents got a divorce in 2008, and initially I wasn't sad about it because I felt like they needed to be divorced. Like, it wasn't giving what you think marriage is supposed to give. They were just with 2 separate people doing 2 separate things. One person is coming, one person is going. It just wasn't. It wasn't a marriage. It wasn't what I saw on TV, right? Because I was a kid. So when my parents got divorced, it literally like shook the world. Like, when Rashida and Love and Hip Hop was like, that was K Michelle. She's shaking the table. My parents got a divorce, and it literally shook the table of every Haitian in our circle, in our family, in our lives, because people do not divorce. And my mom was here to break a cycle of, if we are not happy, we are not going to be together. And I think I've grown up around a lot of, I can only say Haitian because that's my family, it's what I grew up in. A lot of my family who the couples have not been happy, but they've lived together. And one, I think, is cheaper, right? Two, let's go back. One, I think to maintain the image of being married, they're no longer happy, but their parents didn't get divorced. Their grandparents didn't get divorced, and they don't want to have to explain to everyone that they're divorced. But no one is blind, right? People can read your body language when you're in love with somebody, when you're in a good marriage with somebody. And my mom wasn't willing to do that. She was like, we're not happy. We've tried to live together unhappy. It's just not for me. Like, I'm not that girl, right? So she broke a generational curse of saying, hey, Audrey, of saying, this is not working for me, so we need to get a divorce. So my parents got a divorce. And when I found out, it was like initial shock. Like, oh, like, wow, this is really happening. I think that there's been conversations about it, but you never know what that feels like or how that's going to be until that moment of like when it really happens. So my parents get a divorce. My mom was like, oh, I need you to give your father the final papers. And I'm like, hold up. How did I get in this? This has nothing to do with me. How did I get into this? But I'm their kid, right? So like, I'm the one link, the one person that they both mutually have to speak to for this time period. And that was really awkward. My parents got divorced when I was 18, just to set some context. I probably was 18 going on to 19 because I was in my freshman year of school. And although I wanted them to get divorced, the minute it happened, I felt like I was 5 years old again. Like, wow, I've only known to live with these two people. I've only been around them. I've only experienced these two people. And now it doesn't exist anymore, right? So what does that look like? And I remember my first trip back home, seeing my mom, and she just wasn't happy. So then that was like a little bit confusing for me too, because it was like, okay, well, again, I'm young, I'm 18, right? I don't have a clue of the world in sense of marriage, right? I'm still trying to have fun, and I'm trying to see what's good with the shorties on campus. And my parents are dealing with a real life divorce. Like, they were married for 25 years. And so my mom wasn't happy. And I was really confused because I'm just like, well, I thought that you being divorced would ultimately make you happy because you weren't happy and you wanted to leave the situation. And, she tried to explain to me, like, we were married for 25 years. It's not that I hated your father, it's that things weren't working. Things weren't changing, And that's just a sucky place to be in. And then being around my dad, who wasn't really a man of a lot of words. I think now that I'm married and a little bit older, I see a different side of my father that I didn't always see, because maybe he thought I couldn't handle the truth or handle his side of the story. Not toodaloo. But my dad was really silent about it, and not silent in the sense of not talking to us, but just, I don't know, he was so removed. Divorce was weird, and divorce gets weirder, not for the people who are getting the divorce, but for the people outside. Because when my parents got divorced, when I tell you people came out the woodwork, I never liked your father anyway. Oh, really? Where was all this tough talk when he was around? Or women who were supposed to be my mom's friends, who she's looked out for, were pulling up on my dad like, hey, light skin, like, who are these girls? I'm telling y'all now, if me and Justin get a divorce, he's off limits, like, for the rest of his life. There are a million men in the world. Don't come after my ex-husband, because we got a kid together, and I will see him for the rest of my life. Just a disclaimer for any hussies out there listening. So I worried about my mom's happiness ultimately. Like, I'm in school, I'm getting stressed because I'm just like, dang, like, she's crying, she's so upset, like, is she gonna be okay? And then I'm thinking about my dad. Like, we've always lived in a house together. He is living, we're living in the house still, and my dad is now leaving. So my 18-year-old mind is like, where is he going? Where is he going to live? Is he going to be okay? Is he sad? Is he going to miss us? Is he going to feel like he's abandoned? And I think all those thoughts, and me being 6 hours away, I went to school in Virginia, really affected obviously everything, right? Affects everything, which is when my hair first started thinning. And that was the moment of like me going to the hair salon, like, oh, what's happening here? And if you guys don't know, another thing that I learned going through my alopecia situation is that you carry stress in the middle of your head, but mainly it's in the front of your hair. But the middle is like where everything is. You know, when you're a baby and your parents like, oh, don't brush your hair in the middle because our head is still soft. Like, that's a real thing. Like, it closes at the end. And when you lose hair, it starts from there, because she was never secured when you was a baby. You came out and she was a little bit loose. So yeah, I started losing my hair, just worried about my parents. Like, again, they weren't happy. They weren't again, and they weren't walking around miserable. There was never, I didn't experience everyday arguments. I didn't experience any physical abuse. There was no verbal abuse. Like, none of that was experienced. It was all energy. And that is the most important thing that people need to realize. Like, people are like, oh, when they're like, oh, somebody got divorced, oh my God, they look so happy. Duh. It's Instagram. It's a highlight reel. Our first 2 years of marriage, I wanted to uppercut Justin a few times. But y'all not going to see that on Instagram. On Instagram, you guys are going to see when we go on that date, for that one, when we're having that one good week, we're going on a date, we're taking a picture, and we're really in the moment. So people can look however they want to look. You never know what people are going through. And my parents were just, it was energy. The energy that was in the home was just not energy of two people who wanted to be there, or wanted to be together, or thought there was a chance to work it out. And when my parents got divorced, obviously I had to call my friends and tell them. And a lot of my, don't come to VA, a lot of my friends were hurt too. Like, one of my friends had made a comment like, damn, you were the only household that like had two parents in the home. And because I had grown up always knowing that, or always seeing that, I never thought of that as being a big deal, right? But for my friends, it was like, wow, like, your dad used to take us to school every morning, or I'm pausing at saying this because I need to know the statute of limitations of giving minors alcohol. But my dad, like, when we were like 16, it was like New Year's, and we were like joking, like, oh, get us a bottle of alcohol. I'm thinking he's gonna bring us back some apple cider, but he came back with Hypnotic. And me and my good girlfriend Keisha, we were in the house having little sips, though we were so grown. So like, these are the things that my friends got to experience with my dad. Like, I went to high school in Astoria, but I live in Jamaica, Queens. And my dad used to pick up my friends every morning from the train station and drive us 25-30 minutes to school. So my friends got to be around my father every single day. And Solange has always been Solange, life of the party. So you know that my friends have always experienced her. I always had sleepovers. We always had barbecues. So from the outside looking in, these are two people who can figure it out. It didn't work, right? And now that I'm older, I realize that there was a lack of communication, infidelity, which is, it's like if you're a Haitian man, like, I think like you're born with that piece, like you're just not gonna be faithful, which is wild to me. But yeah, there was infidelity, there was lack of communication, and I think the biggest piece was like they didn't have a community. They didn't have friends to tell them, hey, I'm coming over, let's sit down and let's talk about this, let's figure this out. Our first year, me and Jess's first year marriage was tough because we got married and we had a baby all during COVID, and then we had to live together. So we were going through all these adjustments, and we had another married couple to speak to, like, yo, this is rough. Like, he's like, I don't like the way she speaks, and I'm like, and I don't like the way he does this. And they're like, okay, so how can this happen, or how can that happen? And those small little talks helped us, right? They may not have lasted a long time, but they helped. And then it led us to therapy, right? You hear a lot of your friends, like, well, a lot of my friends, 3 of my friends who are married had gone to therapy, and they had such great things to say, and I saw great results in it. So we went to therapy, and we were in therapy maybe for like 3 months, 3 or 4 months, and it was the best thing we could have ever done. Like, literally, if you see us smiling now, or just how we move now, it's so much different because we had therapy. And my parents and their friends and peers and siblings and every other person in their generation didn't have therapy. Therapy has always been available, but it's always been taboo. Even now, there's still a lot of stigma around it. Some people are like, oh, you're pushing therapy, or Charlamagne the God, you're pushing therapy. It's like, y'all niggas need help. Y'all niggas need some help. I saw this post on Instagram, and I was like, I know we're all pushing therapy, but some of you guys need an exorcism. Like, that was real. Like, you never know what childhood traumas you're carrying along. And maybe my mom saw, how her parents were moving and wanted a marriage like that, or didn't know the depths of that, or saw like her parents, even when they weren't happy, they carried it out. So in her mind, it's like, even though I'm not happy, I'm going to carry it out. And my father didn't grow up with parents who were married, right? So he was always on some, I'm going to fend for myself. It's me against the world, because this is how I have to survive. His mother was a single mom. He had to be raised by family. Him and his brothers were split up at times when his mother came to America. It's always one person who has to come to America first to get them ready. So my father came into the marriage like, I love you, I love our kids. But maybe when things got bad, he was on some like, his back is against the wall and everybody can get it, including my mom, And again, I wasn't in their marriage. I don't know all the details, and some details I know I'm not going to share because it's not my business. But it's just to say that we cannot shame people for getting divorced. People say marriage is forever. Life is forever. Nothing is forever. Everything has an expiration date. Even you and I, we're not going to be here forever. Forever ends when you are no longer happy, when you have tried everything. And again, I've been married for 3 hours. I don't know. We're learning every day with marriages. We're hearing examples from our friends. We're talking. And when people ask me about marriage, I tell them the truth. How is marriage? It's interesting. Marriage is, right after this live, go to the bathroom and look in the mirror. That is marriage. Marriage is a magnifier. As perfect as you think you are, as amazing as you think you are, all the things you think that you do, when you get married, you will see, whoa, I really am a little nasty. Whoa, I really am mean. Whoa, I really am a little bossy. Yes, it's interesting. Interesting because you come in thinking you're going to learn about the other person, which you do. But in learning the other person, you learn about yourself. You really see yourself. And one of my friends told me that. And again, I didn't understand until I was married. And I'm like, oh, I really am particular about this, like when me and Justin first got together, I'm like, if the bill is due on September 5th, I need to have it paid on September 1st, because I don't want nobody checking for me. I don't have time for anxiety. I'm like type A. I want my bills. Everybody knows in my life, my bills had to be paid. Okay. It's the most important thing to me. Justin, on the other hand, I pull up at the club, VIP, gas tank on E, but oh, drinks on me. Wipe me down, for real. And I'm like, whoa, how are the drinks on you, bro? We got to get groceries. We got to get formula, you know what I mean? Like, those are little things that if we didn't work out and see the other person's point of view, it would have destroyed us, right? So then it's like, me talking to my friends or going to therapy, you're like, okay, you can pay bills on time and you can go to the club and all drinks will not be on you, but maybe 2 drinks will be on you. Like, it's a modification, you know what I mean? So the point is that don't shame people for marriage. And then for divorce. And then when people have kids, that's another thing that I asked my mom. I'm like, if you were so unhappy for how many years that you stay, why did you stay? And she's like, for you and Kim. Like, you guys needed your father. And when she put it like that, I'm like, she's right. My mom is super nice. Everybody knows that she's a pushover. She has a heart of gold. We call her Mother Teresa. Like, she's the definition of like, she'll do every good deed in the world. She'll take off her shoes in the snow and give it to somebody, because she'll be like, oh, I only have to go 2 blocks home barefoot. I have more shoes at home. Hey, Tim. That is my mom. Like, she is, she just has a big heart. And anyway, the point is that, you know, she was just saying, like, she stayed with my father because we needed our father. She's a pushover. We would have taken advantage of her. 100% correct. Because if I had a curfew, when the street lights came on, which is like 8 o'clock, my mom, if I didn't come in, she wouldn't be tripping. But my dad, it's like he knew the street lights would come on at 8, so he came out at 7:59, and he used to stand on the steps like this and just look around. And I could feel his energy. He didn't have to yell. I've never gotten a beating. All my dad ever did was look at me, and my ass was together. So in her mind, okay, things are not working out with us, but I'm raising a black man in America, and I'm raising a black girl in America, right? I need their father here. Like, I need their father here to figure it out. And it was 100% right. I wanted to hang out sometimes with, you know, the girls who were like around all the guys and getting attention. There was a girl on my block. She was so popping, and all the guys from the boulevard used to come hang out, drinking and smoking weed. And my dad was like, absolutely not. She's older than you. You will not be hanging out with her. You'll not be doing what she does. She's not a bad person, but that's not what you're about to be doing. And when I was a kid, I'm like, he's a hater, da-da-da-da-da. And then you get older, and I'm like, oh, okay. I can see what he was saying. These were older men. I had no business around them. I'm a virgin. I have no idea of nothing. Let the wrong person get in your ear, and boom, I'm teen mom. It's giving teen mom. My brother, y'all know Kim has always been a misfit, which is where Isaiah gets it from. So let's not be fooled that Kim was an angel, because he was not. But Kim was like in a gang, you know, LB fam, you know, that was like a little gang. That's who I bees with. That's who I. He was a part of that. He was hanging out with the wrong friends. He had got arrested for being in the passenger seat of a stolen car that he didn't know was stolen. But again, it was the crowd that he was hanging out with. He was a teen parent. Isaiah was born when Kim was 17. He was 17 for about 16 days. So technically, he was a 16-year-old parent. You know what I mean? And my father's first thing he told my mom was like, he needs to go down to Florida. So before my parents got married, my father had my older brother with his mom, and they lived in Florida at the time, and everyone had a great relationship. My mom and her always had a great relationship, and my dad was like, he needs to go. My dad woke up one morning and packed him up and left him. If my dad was not in our lives at that time, that would not have happened. Kim was in Florida for 9 months and came back a whole new person. He came back. He had his high school diploma. He got an associate's degree. He got a car. He was a better parent. He then met my other nephew's mom, Zaire mom, and got his life together, because there were 2 parents. There was one parent who was the nurturer, and there was the other parent who was the disciplinarian. And that is what we needed. So when I asked my mom, why didn't you and my father divorce sooner? And she says, for the kids. Now that I have Phoenix, I get it. I mean, I'm not going to deal with all the shit that she dealt with. Like, that's a dub. Never. But that was her life, and that was their life together, and things that they chose to deal with. But now that I have a kid, I get it. And one of me and Justin's heated arguments, you know, we were like, we're done. Like, you know, we'll figure this out. And then I thought about it like, okay, so what does this mean for Phoenix? Like, because first of all, my kid is coming with me. We're not even doing that. But I would never keep her father away from her. So what does this look like? He still had, you know, we were at my mom's house, so he still had his apartment in Harlem. Is he going to live here? Is he going to live there? How do we work out school? And now that he's not living here, that means that I'm a full-time parent. That's not fair. I didn't create this kid on my own. You know what I mean? Like, I had a kid for 6 months, and those were going through my mind. So imagine she was married to this man 25 years. All those thoughts go through your mind of, when we break up, it doesn't just affect 2 adults. It affects... Amanda, stop. It affects everyone around you. And the other piece is that you also see how family moves, right? You see who really rocks with you, who doesn't rock with you, etc., etc. Let's not shame celebrities who are getting divorced, okay? More money, more problems. That's what it is. But anyway, there's another side to divorce. Divorce doesn't always have to be bad. There are divorces that are terrible. My parents' divorce wasn't the greatest. They didn't speak for years. Literally years. I think that if one of them was on fire, I don't think the other one would spit on them. Like, it just was a nasty breakup. It was like people were in both of their ears telling them stuff. They had a friend that now that he's deceased, we're learning that he was puppeteering, pulling strings, because he was a hater. Like, he was jealous of my dad, who was struggling. Like, my dad was literally struggling financially, and people on the outside looking in were like, oh, like, he's light-skinned, he stayed with a watch, he stayed with a suit. Yeah, he's gonna look amazing at all times, but deep inside, like, he was going through his own stuff. Same thing with my mom. People are like, oh, she's a nurse, she got money. We don't got it. Do you guys understand the mortgage in New York City? You guys know I was in private school from kindergarten to 12th grade? There are real bills. Like, there are real bills that are happening. I say all of that to say that my parents had split up when I was, I think 3 years old. And somehow we all live in the same neighborhood. We bumped into my dad in the street. And yeah, you're right. Some people do regret divorcing. I see my mom, I see my dad. I must have jumped and like hugged my dad, and then it must have clicked in my dad's head that he needs to come home. At that time, he had been with my younger brother's mom. So him and mom split up. He was with somebody else, had a kid, came back. I'm not doing that either. But anyway, that's not the point of the story. So he came back, and I was their glue at that moment. Hey, Celine. I was their glue, in that moment. Yes, Mika, finances make things hard. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. I was their glue in that moment. And even when they got divorced, right, I was the glue who had to hand divorce papers from one person to another. Wait, let's go back. My mom couldn't even have another kid, and then here I came, busting out the seams like, fibroids what? Move over, your girl is coming through. So I have kind of always pulled them back together. I say that my 30th birthday came, and I was having a party. And of course, I wanted both of them to be there. And I think the last time we had all been in the same room was the same year they got a divorce. My grandmother passed away, 2012. Whatever. It was the same school year, so I counted as the same year. No, it was a year later. Whatever. My grandmother had passed away. We were at a funeral together. Awkward. But then my 30th birthday, we all had to be in a room together. And if you guys go on my Instagram, there's a video all the way down and from 2019, and I say in my speech, like, both of my parents are in the same room. If you know, you know. And I was smiling ear to ear, and I don't think they really understood like how much that meant to me. Like, I was happy that they were no longer together, but I wanted them to be happy. I wanted them to be friends and be around each other. So it was like another moment where I was like their glue. I had them in the same room. I wanted to take a family picture, and they were both open to it. Hey, Erica. They were both open to taking a family picture, which was another highlight. So, like, you'll see from my 30th birthday is like me smiling a million trillion times, because I just was so happy that my parents were in the same room. It was no longer awkward. It was no longer, okay, let me go to dinner with my dad. Let me go to dinner with my mom. Like, it was like I could just be with these two people in the same room. In that same speech, I said that my amazing boyfriend would become my husband. And then 30 days later, I was pregnant. Don't drink Hennessy, guys. It's crazy. Don't drink Hennessy at a barbecue. So when I got pregnant, I then had to get married because I'm Haitian, and Haitians don't play that. No, we didn't have to get married, but we had to get married. So we wanted to get married. And we did. Not drink more Hennessy, Drew. Don't drink Hennessy, yeah. So we got married. And so if I'm getting married, both my parents have to be there again. And this is my dad's first time, like, being back in the house since the divorce. So someone's like, okay, what is this about to give, right? So that's like, post-divorce, there are still nerve-wracking moments for the children. And it doesn't matter how old the kids are. Like, if these are your parents, all you know, you feel a kind of way about it. You feel affected by it. So our wedding came. They were in the house. They were smiling. They gave speeches. They were so proud of me. And I was so proud of them. Like, I was so proud of them. Like, thank you guys. Like, y'all, you guys did it. Y'all don't have to be enemies. And y'all don't have to be best of friends. But for the sake of me and Kim, y'all have to speak for the rest of your lives. I hate when I hear people say, oh, I only got to deal with him for 18 years. I don't have to deal with her for 18 years. No. This is your kid. And if this person is an active parent, because don't get me started on the non-active parents, then you want to communicate and do what's best for your children. Then fast forward, I have a baby shower, and it was one of our last moments with my uncle who wound up passing away from COVID. And my uncle who passed away from COVID, that was his biggest thing. Like, in his mind, he felt like because my parents divorced, my mom turned me against my dad. And again, I wish we could just end that stigma as well, because that pisses me off. I had my own relationship with my dad. I had my own relationship with my mom. And things transpired during those times, which I'll discuss in another conversation, that caused some detachment from me and my dad. I also have it on my highlights on my Instagram if you guys want to read like me and my dad making up. But I'll definitely get into depth with that the next time. But like the family stigmas of like, oh, because they're divorced and she still lives with her mom, like she doesn't want to talk to her dad. Like, no, my mom never told me to not speak to my dad. My mom is not that kind of person. Sometimes I wish she was, but she's not. She's nice. She is not me. I'm not her. But anyway, I was so proud of them. And then I had Phoenix, right? But it was COVID. So my dad couldn't see Phoenix for a while. He had COVID around the same time that my uncle had it. Unfortunately, my uncle passed away, my favorite uncle. And he, like I said, at my baby shower, at my wedding, he was so happy to see me, my dad, and my parents in the same room, because he was an advocate. Like, you guys can be cool. Like, come on. At City Hall, he was so happy to see them. At the baby shower, again, he was so happy to see all of us together. And I wish he could see them now. I'm sure he's watching over us, but my Uncle Jean was, Uncle Jean, got to keep it Haitian for y'all. He was a big advocate of like, even if you're not together, I'm not going to get in y'all business, but y'all don't have to be enemies. And then fast forward to during COVID, I think at this point, we were just tired of being in the house. We had like a small barbecue at my house. We always have barbecues, the barbecue house. And my mom was like, oh, invite your dad to come so that he can, I think that was his first time meeting Phoenix. She had to be like 4 months at the time, right? COVID was still out there, but we was fed up. We was like, if we about to die, we got to have one more barbecue. We got to drink a little bit more Hennessy. And that's a picture on my Instagram as well. Like my parents sitting together with both their bald heads, her from alopecia, him from old age, and Phoenix, sitting in between them. And I put a speech underneath like, wow, I'm so proud of them. Like they always said I was their glue. And here comes Phoenix, following her mommy's footsteps and getting her grandparents together. Because had I not been pregnant, in that moment, they would have not been around each other as much. Like it was like consecutive, like 6-7 months. So I say all of that to say that if you're married, fight for your marriage as hard as you can, but do not fight to the point that you're unhappy, that you are killing yourself. It's just not worth it. Like, yes, the priests say this and everybody says that, but like, your limits, right? You as people, your limits, even in relationships. Like, if you're not happy, that is okay to end it, right? And it's okay to be friends. And if you are happy, then make it work. Go to therapy. Surround yourself with other married friends. My single friends give great advice too. But, sometimes I sat with my married friends and I made a comment and my friend's husband would reply to me, well, when X, Y, and Z did this, like this is how I felt. Or I felt that way before. And I'm like, oh, it's nice for me to hear somebody else's perspective. So yeah, that's my gist on divorce and how it affected me and how we're not our parents. Our parents and our grandparents, they was on something till death do us part. I'd rather kill you because death ain't doing me no part, okay? So like I was telling you guys in the beginning, last time I kind of just ended the live. I didn't do like a Q&A. So I'm definitely open to it. If you guys want to ask me questions from last week about like what I was dealing with alopecia, I'm totally open to answering it. Like I'm open. If you have any questions about like my experience with my parents being divorced and how it affected my marriage, like I'm open to that too. And just really briefly, like how it affected my marriage was me coming in with the notion that me and Justin are going to try to be happy. And if we're not going to be happy, then it's a wrap, right? And that's not the great mindset, which I had to go to therapy and get that out too. Like she's like, whoa, you're carrying your parents' trauma and that's nothing to do with you. So y'all need to go to therapy for sure. But yes, last time somebody asked me a question. I seen it on the live. I didn't get to answer it. They were asking about my alopecia and asking about like getting my hair braided. So I tried. So at one point I was able to get my hair braided. If you guys go down to June of last year, I was on a couple trip in Mexico and I had the long blonde braids. What you didn't realize was the braids started from Uranus and they came back to Earth. She had to start them from the middle of my head because there was nothing. She couldn't secure. I couldn't lemonade like Beyonce, so I was giving Beyonce's cousin. It started from the back of my head. And even then it was giving surgery. Like, she braided the hair all the way to the side, and when it got up here, she had to sew the braids together so that they wouldn't open and people would see my bald spot. Alopecia, tore me up. And then another person asked me, did postpartum? Yes. As soon as I saw my friend Amanda in the airport, I was like, do you guys like my hair? Like, I was feeling so self-conscious because why would the braids starting in the back of my head? Like, that was wild. But I'm happy I had the braids because I could not be I couldn't be in the water, do my thing with the bald head. Yes, lemonade Dre. The lemon Dre, correct. Not even lemonade. Another person asked me, did postpartum cause the alopecia or whatever? No, postpartum exacerbated that bitch. Okay, she took me out. Like I said, it was giving lights, and then first I was just losing my edges. I was still doing the comb over. You guys see Phoenix Baptist, I still had the comb over. And then one day I couldn't comb over one day. But when it really got bad, me and the girls were going to dinner, and that's when like those headbands were out. It's like these glitter headbands where everybody's wearing out for Beyonce's concert, and I tried to push my hair back and it was coming to the front. So postpartum just made things worse. But yeah, do you guys have any questions for me or anything that you wanted to ask? I'll stay on for like another 2 minutes. Hey, Jen. There's another reason why you have to have the friend piece first when you get married. Yes. Marry your friend. Please become friends with your mate, because even when things were like not the best with my parents, I wonder that if they had been really friends first, could they go back to that? Like me and Justin sometimes, like, he may annoy me, but I'm like, dang, as a person, I really like him. Like, I actually respect him as a person. So then I can think of like those good moments and be like, all right, he ain't that bad. Check your question box. Oh, I'm new to this. 2 questions. How do I do a question box, Keisha? Check your question box. This is too advanced for me. Okay, y'all know I'm Haitian. Only 2. I don't have a question box. I have people who are requesting to join. Marina and Kenny, who both don't know how to work Instagram, because I know they don't want to join. Okay. I'm also on Facebook. Hey, Facebook fam. Let me see, because I'm not about to be up here breathing. This is why I cut y'all niggas off last time. I would never talk about your edges again. I never knew. Oh, thank you, D. It's a question mark. Tati, I don't see. Hey, Marina. And I know you're on. I don't see a question mark, guys. How do I find it? Hey, Liddy. Is anybody a Facebook Live person? I don't know how to answer questions. How about Facebook? Y'all got anything for me? Share clips. No. I'm scrolling through the comments. Manifestations with hell of agreements. Baby. Yeah, 100% agree, Crystal. Staying can definitely do more harm to the kids than good. Yeah, because you start resenting one parent, you feel like you see another parent go through a lot of stuff. You guys say the bottom. I don't see what you guys are talking about. I need a tutorial. I'm clicking on everything on this screen. I'm giving grandma now at this point because I look stressed. No. On IG. Tati, I'm on IG. Click the question mark next to the comments. I don't see that on my end. I just see people waving their hands. How about people just re-ask their questions right now that I'm reading the comments? Put it in this chat situation. How do I do a plus? Oh, I found it. Here we go. You got this so smart. How did mending your relationship with your dad help your relationship with Justin? Did it help you to forgive easier in your relationship? Yeah, so I was gonna save that for next week. I'll go more, not next week, in 2 weeks. I'll go more in depth. But yeah, me and my dad's issue had nothing to do with my parents' divorce. But yeah, me and my dad got into a situation, and I will have a session for girls with daddy issues in 2 weeks. So I'll hold on to your question. But yeah, forgiving anybody in your life, forgiving my parents maybe for staying together too long, or forgiving my ex for playing me like a fool. Forgiving people really made a difference with Justin, right? It made me realize, like, yo, everyone has their ish. And even with my parents, like, me taking a moment to realize that outside of my parents, these were two individuals, like literally two people who came together. And in hindsight, was like, not in hindsight, but yeah, I guess in hindsight, me accepting them, like, these are two separate people who just had two different images of what life would look like. And when their images no longer look the same, they didn't know how to tackle that. So it, being married and watching people go through divorce just makes you realize that outside of being your parents, these are two separate people who are just going through their own stuff. How do I find this question box again? Okay. Yeah, forgiveness takes a big weight off your shoulders. I wish that my mom literally forgives everybody like in 1 hour and then moves on with her life. And I'm like, he stole $10,000. It's up and it's stuck. We ain't never forgiven him. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining my live. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you guys for watching my previous video on my alopecia and this video on divorce and how it affected me and how y'all need to mind your business, ultimately. But thank you so much, and who cares what I think? You guys, adios.